Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you on Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network. Coming to you from the Circus Sportsbook here in downtown Las Vegas as we get you set up for the rest of the NBA and NHL playoff action coming up on Wednesday. Tuesday night, we saw both series in the NBA and NHL go to 3-1 leads for the respective teams as the Indiana Pacers defeat the Knicks and cover 130-121. Game goes flying over the total as the Pacers take a 3-1 series lead in the NBA's Eastern Conference Finals. And on the ice, it was the Edmonton Oilers with a 4-1 win, a puck line cover, but the game goes under the 6.5 as the Oilers take a 3-1 lead in the NHL's Western Conference Finals. Will both series end on Thursday? Maybe, maybe not. How about the series that will possibly conclude here on Wednesday, as all 4 of the matchups are at 3-1 in the NHL Eastern Conference Final? The Florida Panthers lead 3-1 over the Carolina Hurricanes. They were actually up 3-0 before Carolina avoided elimination and won in game number 4. And in the NBA Western Conference Finals, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder up 3-1, looking to close out this series here against the Minnesota Timberwolves. OKC is up to an 8.5-point favorite with a total of 220.5. And let's just look through this series and see where we have been to kind of figure out where we're going to be later on Wednesday night. Well, in game number 1, Thunder closed as a 7-point favorite with a total of 219.5. The Thunder win, the Thunder cover, and the game goes under a 114-88 victory. Game number 2 saw a little bit of an uptick. Usually you would see the zigzag come into play. And now what is the zigzag? Well, it's something that's been extremely profitable in these NBA playoffs and historically has been a profitable trend in the NBA playoffs. You bet on the team that has lost the prior game to cover in the next game. In this postseason, it's been a cash cow in this postseason. You're upwards of 68%, 69% betting on these teams that lose the game prior to cover the next game. And so normally you would see the sports book tax that. And you would see the line move in favor or open in favor of the team that is coming off of the loss for the zigzag. But here, based off the game 1 performance, the win for the Oklahoma City Thunder, the market felt, well, the Thunder should actually be power rated a little bit higher now. So the line goes from -7 to -8. And then the Thunder win, the Thunder cover, 118-103. Game goes over the total of 217.5. So there was an adjustment on the total from 219.5 to 217.5. Then we shift and the series goes to Minnesota, where the Thunder are a 3-point road favorite. And to me, that was a big statement by the market, clearly rating the Thunder head and shoulders above the Minnesota Timberwolves. Because think about the situational spot. You had the ultimate zigzag, the zig-zigzag, as we refer to here in the NBA playoffs, where the team loses the first 2 games on the road and then at home in game number 3 playing with their season on the line. Because it's not an elimination game, but for all intents and purposes, it is an elimination game. You go down 3-0, the series is over. No one's ever come back. So down 2-0, playing with desperation, getting the points for the desperation spot and also getting the points for being at home, still, Timberwolves were 3-point dogs. And they came out with the best effort that we have seen from them, maybe in this entire playoffs. In a game where I'll be the first one to admit, I had Timberwolves first quarter, cashed that, but then I was live betting Thunder throughout the game because I'm like, there's no way the Thunder are going to continue this. And how many 15 to 20-point comebacks have we seen in these NBA playoffs? We've had more 15-point or more comebacks in these NBA playoffs than we've had in the last 20, 30 years. Since the tracking goes back to like 2003, this is the most that we've ever had. It's crazy. So I was live betting the Thunder, plus 17, plus 18. They lost by 40. 143 to 101, the Timberwolves beat the Thunder. That game goes over. The Thunder obviously don't cover. I mean, they lose by 40. And then the bounce back. So what happens next? Game number 4. Series is 2-1. No adjustment on the spread at all. The Thunder relisted as the same 3-point favorite that they were in game number 3. So no market adjustment. No improvement for the Timberwolves. No drop down for the Thunder. Now, you could make the argument that, okay, after the desperation spot, you don't have to, factor that in anymore. And so maybe a little bit of an adjustment, but you don't factor in the desperation. So if the line should have been 2.5, 3, whatever it was, it was still the same line. And the Thunder get the win, but they don't cover. I mean, they win by 2, 128, 126. A much tighter game than I think we all expected. And I'll give the Thunder the Timberwolves credit, because I didn't think that was going to be the case. I thought the Thunder were going to roll in game number 4. Maybe not to the extent that the Timberwolves blew them out in game number 3, but I thought Thunder and the over were the 2 plays. And it looked like that for the majority of the game. The game goes flying over the total, which was at 219. And the Timberwolves covered. They played great in the fourth quarter. And so they win by 2. The Thunder do. So they win, but they don't cover. So what does the market do now with the series shifting to Oklahoma City for game number 5? Keep in mind, the Thunder were 7-point favorites in game number 1. They win and cover. They get upgraded slightly. They become 8-point favorites in game number 2, and they win and cover. They get upgraded for game number 3. No adjustment after a 40-point loss in game number 4. But now, an adjustment for game number 5. The Thunder are 8.5-point favorites for game number 5. And how much of that is the public maybe moving this? It's not, because, this opened at 8.5. So it's not so much money that's been pushing it this way. It's the market evaluating this team, thinking, you know what? This is the right spot. This is where they deserve to be. It's closer to what the line was in game number 2, because in game number 1, they set it at 7. The sportsbooks lost because the Thunder came out and covered. They adjusted for game number 2. Thunder covered in game number 2. And now taking a look at game number 5, the third home game for the Thunder here in these playoffs, there was an adjustment on them. The Thunder at home in these playoffs are 7-1. Not only are they 7-1 in these playoffs at home, but they are winning their home games by an average of 24 points per game. This is a team that already has one of the best scoring margins in NBA history. And at home this year, if we forget about the playoffs, at home this year, the Thunder, who went 42-7, won their games on average by 16.6 points per game. They were 34-14-1 at home this year. Let this sink in. The Thunder at home this year had an average spread of minus 10.7. On average, they were double-digit favorites in all of their home games. They were 71% against the spread at home. 34-14-1 at home this year against the spread, covering by 6 points per game. So yeah, I agree with the market. I agree with moving them That includes playoffs, by the way. I agree moving them to an 8.5-point line. If I just look at the regular season this year, 35-6 at home this year in the regular season, winning by 15.2 points per game, 28-12-1 against the spread at home this year, 70% against the spread at home this year in the regular season, 71% at home because we add in the ATS numbers here in the playoffs. Thunder are winning this series here on Wednesday night. Do they cover? I tend to lean towards the yes. Now, 8.5 is a big number that I don't necessarily want to lay, if I'm being completely transparent. Do I think, though, and this is the question, do I think that I'm going to get a better number in game? I'm not so sure. Because as good as the Thunder have been at home, they've been great in the first quarter as well. Overall, in the playoffs this year, in those 8 home games, they are outscoring their opponents in the first quarter 29-23. They're outscoring their opponents in the second quarter 33-26. And so, yeah, I say that I don't feel, too great laying the minus 8.5. But I don't think I'm going to get a better number in the in-game because they're going to jump out to a big lead. So maybe Thunder in the first half is a way to look at this game. Or a Thunder, to be honest with you, a double result. A double result would mean Thunder winning at the end of the first half and Thunder winning the game. That's something that I would take a look at. Because this series ends here on Wednesday night in Oklahoma City. Does the NHL Eastern Conference Finals end tonight or end here Wednesday night in Carolina? Hurricanes will look to stave off elimination for the second straight game. Can they do it? We'll talk about it coming up next here on Cashing Out. I'm Scott Seidenberg on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
According to Saltus Wealth, 41% of high net worth individuals report having been victims of financial crime. Are you next? High-profile individuals like you need more than off-the-shelf solutions. You need concierge digital security from Reputation Defender. It's not just another app. It's a team of experts using best-in-class tools to protect you and your family, covering virtually every aspect of your digital life. Visit reputationdefender.com/success to learn more. That's reputationdefender.com/success.
Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Cashing Out, I'm Scott Seidenberg here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. As we turn our attention to the Stanley Cup playoffs, where on Tuesday night we saw the Edmonton Oilers take a 3-1 series lead over the Dallas Stars with a 4-1 victory on home ice as the series shifts to Dallas for game number 5 on Thursday, where I'm already on Dallas. I think this is a great spot to back Dallas. Not only are they at home with desperation, it's a short price at minus 120, but if you actually look inside the numbers, they've been the better team at even strength in this series. They've actually outplayed the Oilers at even strength. The Oilers have done a magnificent job on their power play, which is what's expected of them because they have one of the most lethal power plays in all of hockey. And here in game number 4, it was 2 power play goals that gave them the 2-1 lead, and then they add some empty netters at the end. So on the power play, they've been great, but at even strength, this has been a much more even series. In fact, it's actually been skewed towards the Dallas Stars. And the other difference in the series is not just the way the Oilers have performed on the power play, but also how great Stuart Skinner has been in net. If you just looked at the expected numbers in this series, Skinner's playing out of his mind in this series. And he truly is the difference into as far as what we have seen here in this series. In fact, he has played so well that over the course of the postseason, because remember, he was so bad in the first 2 games against the Kings, he got pulled. And Calvin Pickard took over as the starting goaltender. Pickard wins 6 straight games for the Oilers, He gets hurt in that Vegas series. Skinner comes in and has been elite ever since coming back in. He's been so good that his performances as of late has elevated his numbers, his advanced numbers, his goals saved above expected to now sixth best of goaltenders in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And yeah, that includes a lot of guys that have been eliminated. So of the goalies that are still in the playoffs, he's fourth behind Frederik Andersen, Sergei Bobrovsky, Jake Ottinger, and then Stuart Skinner. But his numbers have been unreal just in the last several games. And if you look at the expected numbers, like we talked about, Dallas has had more expected goals. They should have scored way more goals than they've actually scored in this series because Stuart Skinner's playing out of his mind. I do not think that keeps up. That's something I don't want to be on that train. I want to be against it. So I want to fade Stuart Skinner going into the next game. Plus, I think Edmonton might be playing with a little bit of house money. And we saw Zach Hyman get hurt here in game number 4. Don't know his availability for game number 5. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play in game number 5 just because they're up 3-1. They have the cushion of the home game number 6. So maybe you don't force him back here early in game number 5. You run the risk of further injury because if Dallas wins game number 5, the Oilers are going to be heavy favorites in game number 6 at home. Maybe even heavier favorites than what they were here in game number 4. So I wouldn't force Hyman back. And I think that when it comes to the effort, we could see something like what we saw the other night in Florida, where the Panthers were unbelievable in the entire series against the Hurricanes. In the first 3 games, Florida was dominant. But in game number 4, yes, they had injuries. Sam Reinhart didn't play. But then again, Sam Reinhart didn't play in game number 3. And Jesper Boqvist gets pushed up into that front line. He scores a goal. And they win that game number 3, even without Sam Reinhart. So the offense was fine. Nico Mikkola doesn't play in game number 4. So their defense takes a little bit of a hit. But defensively, it really wasn't that. The defense wasn't their problem in game number 3. In game number 4. In game number 4, the issue was the Panthers played like a team up 3-0. They just didn't have the same intensity that Carolina did. And so the Hurricanes, for the first time since 2006, win an Eastern Conference Finals game. The last time, prior to the other night, the last time that the Hurricanes, won an Eastern Conference Finals game, their head coach, Rod Brindamore, scored the game-winning goal in 2006. They had lost 15 straight Eastern Conference Finals games. They were on the brink of being swept in the 4th straight conference finals, the second time by these Florida Panthers, because they did it 2 years ago. But it was an incredible effort. I mean, they went after every loose puck. They were blocking shots. They were the faster, more aggressive team throughout that game number 4. So how does that now play out here in game number 5 with the series shifting to Carolina? Can the Hurricanes, for the second straight game, avoid elimination, or will the talent of the Panthers just outweigh it, and will Sergei Bobrovsky continue to be dominant and the Panthers finish out this series? I got to be honest, my initial thought was the Florida Panthers closing out this series, just because they've been a wagon this entire postseason. But the more I look into the numbers, the more I actually see that, kind of like what I'm seeing in that Dallas series against Edmonton, at even strength, the Carolina Hurricanes have actually been the better team. If we look at even strength situations, Carolina has scored only 4 goals in this series. Florida has scored 12. The expected goals, though, Carolina's been expected to score 9.43 to Florida's 6.67. So at even strength in this series, Carolina's been expected to be winning. They have more shot attempts for, more shots on goal They've had more scoring chances. They've had more high danger scoring chances, all at even strength. Now, the numbers aren't dominant, but they are pretty darn good. To the point where it's like, you know what? I could make the argument, and I guess I am right now, that at even strength, Carolina's been better. If we look at all situations, so we include the power play in there as well, let's see. We got 11.87 goals for Carolina expected to 8.84 for Florida. Let's look at the scoring chances. Wow. 108 for Carolina, 91 for Florida? I mean, Carolina's actually played well in this series, which is amazing because they've been outscored 16-7. They're down 3-1. I mean, this just goes to show you how well Sergei Bobrovsky's played, which is why, Bobrovsky's my pick to win the Conn Smythe, because when the Panthers do win this series, which if they don't win here on Wednesday night, they're going to win over the weekend when the series goes back to Sunrise, Florida. But Sergei Bobrovsky's my pick to win the Conn Smythe, because if Florida wins the Stanley Cup, Sergei Bobrovsky's winning the Conn Smythe. Yeah, you could make the argument maybe for, Sam Bennett's their leading scorer. You're not going to give it to him. You get Sasha Barkov maybe. But Sergei Bobrovsky, he's the second favorite right now behind Connor McDavid. He's the only guy that I would bet on the Florida Panthers. For the Oilers, I could make the argument for McDavid. I could make the argument for Draisaitl. These guys have all been fantastic. Both of them have been fantastic. And McDavid won it last year in a losing effort, so maybe this year you think they want him to have his moment in front of the crowd. If Edmonton wins, do they vote for him? Do the writers vote for him? But Bobrovsky's the only guy to bet for the Florida Panthers, in my opinion. So he's been incredible in this series. So at first, my initial thought was, well, Panthers are going to close this thing out. But the more I think about it, and the more I look at these numbers, Carolina's actually got something here. And I got to say, I might want to be on Carolina here in this game. The under 5.5, probably the strongest lean for me, though, as this has been an under series. Frederik Andersen was great in the last game for Carolina. He got benched in that one game for Peter Korchekov. He comes back in, he pitches a shutout, and we know how great Bobrovsky's been. This feels like another low-scoring game. So the under would be the strongest lean for me, but I think I might be on Carolina. This is not a game where I would just blindly play the favorite on the puck line, which has been one of the more extraordinary things to do in this entire postseason. The numbers are just outrageous when it comes to again, if all you did this year was just bet the favorites to cover the puck line, of the 49 wins for the favorites, 34 of them have covered the puck line. And if you wanted to look at an alternate puck line with these favorites, they've actually, 24 of the 34 puck line wins have actually been by 3 goals or more. And on these alternate puck lines, you're getting plus 300 on these. Crazy stuff. I don't think I can do it here. I don't think I can do it with the Florida Panthers in this game. Coming up next, we're going to be joined by Scott Spreitzer, professional bettor at Scott Wins on Twitter. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Cashing Out, I'm Scott Seidenberg here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Want to take a look at some Wednesday Major League Baseball games, but also the NBA playoffs and beyond, as we are joined right now on the Progressive Guest Line by professional bettor, DocSports.com, at Scott Wins on Twitter. You know him, Scott Spreitzer joins us here in his weekly spot on Cashing Out. Scott, thanks so much for joining us. Great to have you aboard, and let's start in the NBA playoffs, where we saw the Pacers win and cover here against the Knicks, take a 3-1 series lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. But looking ahead to game number 5 on Thursday, Knicks open as a 4.5-point favorite, which is the same number as it was in game number 1 of this series. to me, that number didn't make any sense. How do you look at game number 5 now between the Knicks and the Pacers, as we've actually seen movement in that market? Knicks are now a 5-point favorite.
Yeah, I always tell Scott that, folks don't need to be overly concerned this time of the year about laying a decent price when it comes to money lines, laying around $2. And, that's kind of the way I'd go in this game with the New York Knicks. I don't think they're going to lose this game. I had done a couple of shows, maybe at VSiN also, before the series began, touting the Pacers in 6, and I'm going to stick with that for now. It's been a good series for us. But, when I look at what happened in the Knicks win a couple of nights ago, it took abnormalities by both teams for New York to get that win. I mean, Cat goes nuts in the fourth quarter, 20 points, 8 boards. Indiana has that big lead and then slips into a half-court game, late third, early fourth. That's not only not their game, but they're bad at it when they get forced into a half-court game on offense for any amount or any stretch of time. And after scoring 14 first half, first break points last game, they came out and they only scored 2 points in the second half of that game, the Knicks win. So they got back to what they do. They started getting up and down the floor. I mean, you could see early on in this game, this was going to be the Pacers' pace, and they were going to control the tempo. And I felt pretty good laying those points with Indiana, 2.5, depending on when folks got it, when I saw the pace and the tempo that Indiana was controlling. So I think New York getting back home can control it enough to where they'll be able to win this game. But laying, more than 2 buckets is getting a little bit up there, a little bit iffy for me. If anything goes wrong at all for the Knicks, let's say they're up 10 points early fourth, start to struggle a little bit, then doubts will start to creep into their mind. And I don't know that they can get over that number. But I think around a -$2, I don't have the money line right in front of me right now, is the way to go in this game for New York.
Yeah, I went ahead. I already took -185. I hate talking about bets in pocket, Scott, but I will tell you that there is still 190s available in the market. So if you're listening, you're watching right now, there still is -190s available in the market. There's also -195s. There's -205s. So this thing is on the move, and do not be surprised if by the time we progress throughout Wednesday and into Thursday, it's going to be way north of -$2 in favor of the New York Knicks, because as we talked about earlier, this spread didn't make sense when it first opened up at -4.5. So I jumped in early. And conversely, if you like the Pacers, if you think they're going to close this thing out in game number 5, I'd wait, because you're probably going to get your best number at post.
Oh, I agree. And by the way, one more notch on the Knicks, if you like that side to even win this game outright, it's like the Western Conference series right now, in that you got a team that's not used to closing out teams this deep in the playoffs, 7-game series. And I think you throw that into the mix a little bit, although Indiana looks quite prepared to be mature enough to handle the situation. But again, I think it's, the Knicks had a chance. I mean, they're within 5 or 6 with 3 minutes to go in this game, and they were not playing at their pace at all. So switch things up a little bit, get back to controlling the pace. And I'm not so sure I like the adjustments that Thibodeau has made to his starting lineup. Get Hart back out there as far as a starter in this game, and I think you'll have a better chance of succeeding throughout the contest.
Well, let's transition and let's go to that Western Conference series where the Thunder will look to close it out here on Wednesday night, laying 8.5 over the Timberwolves. And this is an adjustment, Scott. Game number 1, they were 7-point favorites. They win and cover. The market adjusts them to an 8-point favorite. Now they were 3-point favorites in both games 3 and game 4. Now an 8.5-point favorite here. I do think the Thunder win tonight. Don't get me wrong. And I'm very hesitant, though, and I'm curious your take, because I'm not so comfortable laying the 8.5. But the problem is they start out games so well, especially at home, that I don't think we're going to get a better number in game, because it wouldn't surprise me if the Thunder jump out to one of those 18-7 type first quarter runs, and next thing you know, they're laying 16 for the game.
Yeah, I actually thought about jumping in first half on Oklahoma City because, as you mentioned, the way they've been starting these games at home. But what I decided to do is go ahead and take the points here. I do think it's tough to close out when you're an inexperienced team in doing so. And by inexperienced, I'm not just talking about this year, but overall for Oklahoma City. They are 1-1 against the spread in closeout games so far this postseason. They covered against Denver, as you'll remember, but they did not cover the 2-point win against Memphis in a closeout game. And they haven't been, they've been a little overvalued. I mean, they've not been covering these spreads. 4 of the last 13 playoff games is all they've covered. And you got the T-Wolves, who have been undervalued, going 9-3 against the number the last 12 playoff games. Minnesota got crushed. We all know that in the first two games at OKC. And the line's a bit higher, as you mentioned, than it was in those two games. And here's the thing. If you look back at what happened in game one, Julius Randle did a vanishing act after a great first half. Ant Edwards was so-so through those first two games. Naz Reid, how about 0 for 14 from the three-point line again through those first two games? And Minnesota was sloppy. They were minus 33 in points differential in the first two games combined, but they've turned things around. They've actually outscored OKC the last couple of games in points off turnovers, 31-27. And even when they do turn it over a little too much, they're getting back on defense. So they've kind of adjusted to that. And I'm hoping, obviously, they can keep it going once they go back to OKC, because the Thunder, everything they do is built off their tenacious and ferocious and almost historic defensive basketball play. And they can turn their offensive successes from that great defensive play. So Minnesota's got to hang on to the rock, get back on defense like they have the last couple of games when they do turn it over. And Ant Edwards has to drive the paint, kick it out. They cannot forget about Jaden McDaniels like they did early on in this series. Got to get him going early. I think they cover this number. I think it ends up a little bit closer than that spread.
Talking to Scott Spreitzer here on the Progressive Guest Line. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is Cashing Out here on VSiN. If you want more wins and more bets from Scott Spreitzer, text VSiN wins to 29022. Grab your free 60-day trial, your free $60 trial of Scott's daily best bets. Act now, cash in with Scott. Make your next bet your best bet. Just text VSiN wins. That's VSINWINS. VSiN wins, all one word, to 29022 now. All right, Scott, let's take a look at some plays here for Wednesday's Major League Baseball action. Here on Tuesday, the Marlins with a ridiculous first 5-inning loss to the San Diego Padres. Right? They were up 6-0 in the first inning and still lost the first 5 as the Padres took a 7-6 lead into the 6th inning. How are you going to play these two teams here on Wednesday?
Yeah, a little buy sign for me on San Diego after they finally kind of snapped out of the funk the last couple of games. But, it's modern day, Major League Baseball betting, Scott. I've been doing this for a long, long time. It's not your father's baseball betting. We have yet to hit the month of June, and we're talking about a ton of big chalk every day. 8 games on Wednesday, priced minus $1.50 and higher. Never used to be that way in May. Got to hold your nose when you see fit. You got to get creative with alternative lines. Lay -1 when you can in some cases, or go the prop route. In this particular game, you got San Diego last check before I jumped on air with you. They were minus $1.60. You got Kyle Hart, who's been fantastic at home, only a couple of starts, but fantastic so far at Petco. And Sandy Alcantara has been terrible.
Yeah.
They've lost each of his last 7 starts, all by more than a run. 9.87 ERA, $1.81 whip, over 2 home runs allowed per 9 innings pitched, and how about a 12.46 ERA on the road? So we've seen the Friar Bats starting to come alive, 17 runs last 3 games. At DK, you can lay a run right now with the Padres right around $1.19, $1.20, give or take a couple of pennies, maybe even a team total at over 4.5 minus $1.10. That's what I'm looking to do here, is lay that run with San Diego.
Got about a minute left. We got the Yankees, who are laying a big number in Anaheim against the Angels, and Yusei Kikuchi, a guy that they're certainly familiar with his time in Toronto. How are you looking to play this game?
Yeah, this number's inched up a little bit. It's up to $1.70 and a little bit higher than that in some books over the last hour or so. And you can lay again, minus a run, minus $1.40. I think I'd rather lay $1.65 here. We saw this coming for the Angels, this losing streak. They beat Miami, on Friday night, their 8th straight win on 6 hits. They were out hit like 14 or 15 to 6, won 7-4. Guess what? Since then, and including that game, their last 5 games, losing 4 in a row, 31 for 157 at the plate. That's $1.97 for a team batting average. I know Yusei Kikuchi has helped the Angels to a 4-0 mark in his last 4. He's getting away with murder, Scott. He's been walking guys left and right like he's getting money to do so. And how about 5 walks per 9 innings pitched in his last 7 starts? You can't do that against this lineup. And I got to side with the Yankees here. Probably end up just going with that money line. Sometimes you got to lay it, and I'm going to do it here.
And a great sign for the Yankees is only having to use Loaizaga for 1 inning and Devin Williams for 1 inning here on Tuesday night, which means Luke Weaver, their closer, is available for this game coming up on Wednesday. Always something to pay attention to. Scott, appreciate the time. Great insight as always. Look forward to catching up again soon.
Take care, Scott. Have a great one. Good luck.
There he is, Scott Spreitzer. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is Cashing Out here on VSiN.
out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Cashing Out, I'm Scott Seidenberg. Want to remind you that you only have a little time left to jump in right now on our incredible offer at VSiN.com. Through May 31st, you can lock in 14 months for just $199, 2 months extra for free when you use promo code PRO at checkout. So you get a VSiN Pro subscription for just $199. That's less than 50 cents a day. You get a daily email with the best bets from the hosts and guests, real-time betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 live video and replays on the VSiN Watch app, full access to VSiN.com's analytics, trends, and expert breakdowns. Plus, you get the 2025-26 NFL betting guide when it comes out later on this summer. It's a limited time offer. It ends May 31st, so don't miss out. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe now. Use promo code PRO to sign up. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. This is Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, as we take our attention to Wednesday's schedule, and let's look for some best bets. Now, a couple of these games we talked about earlier, so I'm going to reiterate a couple of points that I made and the bets that I'm looking at here for Wednesday. We'll start in Major League Baseball because we got day games. It's getaway day. A lot of teams that are playing on Wednesday, a very small schedule on Thursday because we got a bunch of series that will begin over the weekend. In fact, there's only 4 games on the schedule on Thursday. But Wednesday, we got a big slate of Major League Baseball games. It's just because the way it worked out with every team playing the Memorial Day, the day games, and whatnot. Anyway, I digress. But the action gets started early, 1 o'clock Eastern time. We got the Mets hosting the White Sox. Griffin Canning going for the Mets. He's 5-1 this year with a 2.88 ERA. Shane Smith will oppose him for the White Sox. The Mets are heavily favored. They're minus 250 in this game, and I do think the Mets close out and finish out the sweep. They've been incredible this season at home. And I do think that this is the time of the schedule where they're starting to roll after facing a difficult schedule where they played the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Dodgers. They take 2 of 3 from the Dodgers, carry that momentum into a walk-off win against the White Sox in the first game of this series, a win yesterday here on Tuesday, and now taking a look at Wednesday, a big win probably on deck with the potential of winning more games because you face the Rockies now for 4 games. Then you go to L.A. to face the Dodgers, but then you get the Rockies again. This is a good part of the schedule here for the New York Mets. Pete Alonso homered on Tuesday. I feel like he's starting to heat up his bat a little bit. I like the Mets here, but I think the play for me is going to be the first 5 innings to go under. If we look at the Mets this year, they are the best first 5 under team in baseball. A record of 39-16 to the under in the first 5 innings. And if we look at their home record in the first 5 innings, it's 19-8 to the under. Meanwhile, the Chicago White Sox are also a first 5 under team. This year, the White Sox are one of the better under teams in baseball, 34-21 to the under in the first 5 innings. In road games this year, the White Sox are 17-11. So a little bit better on the road, but still overall, we're looking at 2 first 5 under teams. Right now on DraftKings, you can get the under 4.5 in the first 5 innings at minus 130. And I like that with a couple of these day games here, early start times, getaway day situations. These guys come to the ballpark, and it's a get-out-of-Dodge spot. You might have some altered lineups here, backup catchers in, day game after night game type situations. So offense may be a little bit different. Pitchers might have the edge here. I'm going to back both of these pitchers. I'm going to go first 5 under between the Mets and the White Sox. I'm going to take another first 5 under in an early game in Tampa. 91 degrees in Tampa. It's going to be hot. Thunderstorms on the horizon, but it's South Florida. We know it does that every single day. Rains for 15 minutes, and then it moves on. But the Rays hosting the Twins, Drew Rasmussen on the mound for the Rays, and Pablo Lopez goes for Minnesota. Rays are a slight favorite in this game, but I'm going to target the first 5 to go under 4.5 runs as well. Right now it's at minus 135 up on DraftKings. That's where I'm going to lean for this. If we look at the Rays at home this year, I talk about how good the Mets are as far as being an under team in the first 5 innings at home. Well, they're 19-8. The Mets are. The Tampa Bay Rays 23-13 to the first 5 innings under at home this year. They've played more home games than anybody in Major League Baseball because the Major League Baseball front-loaded their schedule with the idea that they don't want them to play games in the summer in the middle of the 100-degree heat there in Tampa. So they front-loaded their schedule, but it's still hot. It's still uncomfortable. I think the players, they just want to get out of there. I don't know how big the crowd's going to be for an afternoon game on a Wednesday there in Tampa. So give me the first 5 under in an early start where I just don't think there's going to be any energy in the ballpark. So I think both pitchers will have the edge there, and I could see a low-scoring affair between the Rays and the Twins. So go first 5 under between the Rays and the Twins. And I'm going to do one more first 5 inning bets. So we're going to call it the first 5 Wednesday, F5 Wednesday. So we got under 4.5 in the Mets against the White Sox, under 4.5 in the Twins against the Rays, and we're going to go back Paul Skeens in Arizona. This is a 12:40 Pacific time start, so a day game in Arizona between the Diamondbacks and the Pirates, where the Pirates are coming off of a game on Tuesday night where they snapped out of an offensive slump. This is the lowest scoring team in Major League Baseball. But against the Diamondbacks on Tuesday night, exploded for 7 runs in the 8th inning to come from down 6-0 earlier in the game to win 9-6. And I think the Pirates bats carry this momentum into a Paul Skeens start where all the talk has been how the team does not hit for Paul Skeens, how they do not give him run support. Paul Skeens is getting the Jacob deGrom treatment right now. And for those who aren't familiar with what I'm referring to, is there was a time when deGrom was healthy, when he was pitching for the Mets, when he was the best pitcher in the world, winning back-to-back Cy Young Awards, the Mets actually had a losing record in games in which Jacob deGrom started. I was a big proponent, and I'm going to take credit for creating it, the deGrom fade was one of my big things a couple of years ago in Major League Baseball. I was just betting against the Mets every time deGrom pitched because the Mets would be like north of -$2 with him on the mound, but they never scored for him. And the Mets had a losing record in his starts. It was crazy. But that's what the Pirates are doing for Paul Skeens. Prior to their extra inning win in Skeens' last start on Friday, last week, they had lost 4 straight games in which Skeens went out there and dealt. Against the Phillies, he threw a complete game, 8 innings, 1 run allowed, and they still lost. But I think the offensive explosion on Tuesday night parlays themselves into a win. It propels their bats here coming up on Wednesday. Give me the Pirates in the first 5 innings, but get this. Zach Gallen's on the mound for the Diamondbacks. Arizona is a better team. We know that. And it's sometimes you get the situation where a team is favored in the full game, but the other team's favored in the first 5. It usually happens with guys like Paul Skeens. It happened with deGrom earlier for the Texas Rangers. I'm going to mention deGrom again. But the Rangers were dogs in the game, but they were favored in the first 5 innings. I think it was against the Yankees. And it was because of deGrom on the mound. Well, I thought for a second that Skeens would actually be a favorite in the first 5 innings against the Diamondbacks and Gallen because Zach Gallen has been putrid at home this year. If you look at Gallen's splits at home this year, he's much worse than he's been on the road. Opponents are batting .272 at home against him, a 6.03 ERA. In 7 home starts, Zach Gallen's 1-4. But Gallen and the Diamondbacks are slight favorites, which means you could take an even money, which is probably the best you're going to find right now on Paul Skeens and the Pirates in the first 5 innings, is even money. Or here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay a little bit of juice. And I'm going to go Pirates plus a half a run in the first 5 innings. Right now up on DraftKings, it's -145. But think about this. I don't even need the Pirates to score a single run now. If Paul Skeens throws 5 shutout innings, I win this bet. There's no way to lose this bet if Paul Skeens throws 5 shutout innings. Because I'm taking plus a half a run, which means if it's tied after 5 innings, you get the win. So I don't even need the Pirates to score. This is my way of backing Skeens and taking the Pirates offense out of it. Go out there, Paul Skeens, throw 5 scoreless innings, and we're going to get a win here, plus a half a run. So your 3 best bets in the first 5 innings in Major League Baseball, under 4.5 first 5, Mets and White Sox, under 4.5 first 5, Twins and Rays, Pirates plus a half a run against the Arizona Diamondbacks. The best bets are brought to you by G-Bank, introducing the $500 trifecta from GBank, First Bet, and VSiN. All you need to do is open up a GBank Visa Signature credit card. In the first 90 days, deposit and play through $1,000 at First Bet to trigger the $500 trifecta. You'll receive $200 in cashback rewards on your GBank Visa Signature credit card. First Bet will give you a $100 deposit match, and VSiN completes the trifecta with a free VSiN Pro subscription through August 31st. That's a $200 value. So a $500 trifecta from GBank, First Bet, and VSiN. Head to vsin.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. It's a one-time promotion limited to customers opening a new account. In response to this offer, will not apply to requests to convert existing accounts. Apply today. Terms and conditions apply. Be sure to wake up tomorrow morning with VSiN by the books with our friends Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.